I'm not looking to reinvent history or set the record straight, but I can't make a movie on the American West unless the indigenous are involved.
Welcome to the Horizon American Saga Chapter 1 press conference. I'm Pete Hammond. First of all, let me introduce you, though, to the guy that put it all together, the producer, director, co-writer, and star, Kevin Costner. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you.
And then this incredible cast: Abby Lee, Sienna Miller, Sam Worthington, Michael Rooker, Jenna Malone, Jamie Campbell Bower, Wase Chief, Tatanka Means, Owen Crowshoes, Luke Wilson, Ella Hunt, and Isabel Furman.
We started to get news about America about 400 years ago. It was doing quite nicely without us, and America was settled by Europeans, by people coming from around the world. If they were able to make it across that Atlantic, they started to understand that there was a promise out here, that there was a land so big that it went so far that they could have what they didn't have in Europe. I refer to it as the Garden of Eden. And what they didn't realize, there was a people here who had been flourishing for 15,000 years. And these two ideas came into conflict from sea to shining sea, and our story deals with that.
Wase Chief, one of the many indigenous members of the cast here. What was the experience like for you in telling the story here? This is authentic casting, which didn't always happen in Hollywood.
Yeah, it was amazing, especially getting to work with these two awesome Native actors, getting to know all the Native cast, and working with Aurelia, who was our language coach. Kevin made sure that we were going to learn the real White Mountain Apache language, and in order to do the Apache Nation justice, we all wanted to make sure we learned the language correctly and made it sound good. And Aurelia was really good at making sure that we did that. And it was a lot of pressure, making sure that we're representing our people in a good way, and making sure Kevin's happy, because that's a lot of pressure right there.
Kevin, were you happy?
Every day.
Tatanka and Owen, I have to ask you, you play brothers, but kind of on opposite sides. What's happening to them is kind of like horrifying to me. They're coming into your land here, the white settlers, and taking over.
I think that Piontsene, he was originally like a very peaceful guy. He felt that Apaches should always be together and should be unified. But then, as the settlers are starting to come encroach on our land, he has to make the tough decision to be that resistance against the settlers. So he chooses to separate from the original tribe, and I think that there's a lot of things that went into that choice. He's seen a lot of bad stuff. He's seen the settlers coming in. He's seen Apaches fighting Apaches. It's not a time of peace right now. We have to act. Playing the role of Piontsene, I think that it opens up a different side of me that I don't usually express in my everyday life. Just putting the headband on, I'll be transformed into Piontsene again, and he's a powerful guy.
Tatanka, can you talk about, Wase mentioned the White Mountain Apache, a dialect that you had to learn. How difficult was that?
It was super difficult. I think, because we're native actors, we get cast and we play different tribes, and I think a lot of people think that we can just speak whatever language that they cast us as. And I think I've spoken over 20 different tribal languages. We're not Apache, but we're enrolled tribal members, and I'm grateful to Kevin for casting us, because I think a lot of our roles have been taken by people that claim some of our indigenous blood or ancestry, and we lose important roles like that help us in our careers. So to have this a blessing to go in there and portray the Apache people and to work with them one-on-one, with the Aurelia and the dialect coaches, it was important to us because we're Native, and when we see our people on screen being represented, we want that authenticity. We want to hear our language spoken correctly and not butchered. It brings pride to us, and not only to the Apache people, but to all indigenous Native people, in North America, to see your language and hear it on the big screen. That brings pride in us. Like when I heard Dances with Wolves and they were speaking the Lakota language fluently to each other, having conversations, that brings pride inside of you. It makes you want to learn it. It makes you want to keep that going because it's important, to our people. And we tried hard, and I think we pulled it off, and I was really happy with everybody's hard work, and that's what Kevin asked for in the beginning was to work hard and to be ready and be prepared, and we were.
Yeah, it's great to give the opportunity, Kevin. Gone are the days of Rock Hudson as Taza, son of Cochise, and the kind of casting that Hollywood did, and you were a leader in this. It's important to you. And to tell your story authentically, right?
Yeah, it didn't seem like a big move to me. It just seems like an authentic one, and that's where I think, it just, I don't really take too much credit for that. It seems obvious, and it makes for a better movie, and you can't have the Western story unless you have the First Peoples story. We threw their way of life into chaos, and they never recovered in their own way. And I'm aware of that, but I'm also aware of the people that came across this country and the resourcefulness that it required to carve out a life. It just threw these two cultures into chaos, and it was a one-sided fight. It wasn't fair. And I'm not looking to reinvent history or set the record straight, but I can't make a movie on the American West unless the indigenous are involved. The first image that we have in Horizon is a stake going in the ground, and out come the ants. And it was a metaphor, again, for the chaos that we started. And I think I had a chance to kind of, wait a second, let's talk about how Denver started, how Tucson started, how San Francisco, St. Louis, you go right down the way. We displaced people. And so I really wanted to start at the beginning. But I love what happens in between. Dances with Wolves took 106 days to make. White Earp took about 113. We did this movie in 52 days. And every one of them just, I'll never forget them. We're linked now forever in this movie. And they showed up when it was 110 degrees. They showed up when it was hardest. Who knows what was happening in our own personal lives, because we are human beings. We do portray other people, but our lives are still going on. And every one of them gave me everything.
Nice. Okay, Vincent Schilling of Native Viewpoint. As a Mohawk critic, it is always great to see indigenous representation in a movie. This question is for Kevin and Tatanka Means. What is the importance of Native representation in Horizon, and how did you verify accuracy in this representation within this film?
It's very important, to be able to see yourself on screen. Like I mentioned, for the young people and for our history and during this time, it's important because we're an important part of history. And to see us included in the story and represented in that way, they had Apache people on set that were there to contribute, and I think it turned out great.
There's not much difference between people. The same things make us laugh. They make us cry. We weep for what we've lost. We yearn for what we like. If you invest in behavior, it doesn't matter what century or decade you choose to make a movie. You can find yourself, and that's an obligation of a movie, that you are able to look up there and recognize yourself. I don't pretend that I'm Native American, but never forget that the Native Americans became inconveniences. How did that happen? In their own country. They had to run for their lives. They had to protect their way of life, their religion, their children, and it can't ever be minimized. Our fingerprints are all over this. We don't have to be embarrassed. We don't have to be ashamed, but we have to recognize the beauty of that culture, of people that were living in a level of equilibrium and harmony before we came, before we put that first stake in the ground. And that will always be our story.
Thanks to all of you for joining us here. And it says wave to the camera for goodbye. So.